Hey now, good morning, happy Monday. Welcome back. Well, I was off Friday, but I guess welcome back to me. Great job on Once Upon a Time in America. Really nice work for that beautiful score, Ennio Morricone score, and Sergio Leone, epic 4-hour movie. We'll watch that when we get back into sessions. Today we're going to look at another classic score. It's classical. It's a classical score, but the movie came out not that long ago, and we're going to see why it's a classical score, because it takes place during the time of Beethoven and all that good stuff. So today, we'll be looking at Pride and Prejudice. We know that's a book, right? Jane Austen. Comes out in 1813, so long time ago. Directed, so this is the movie version of the book, and this is directed by Joe Wright, British director, and he did a lot of literary adaptations for this, Anna Karenina, and Atonement, and Darkest Hour with Winston Churchill. So a lot of historical dramas, literary adaptations, and we haven't talked about Jane Austen, but I do like to include, artists, just not musicians, composers. But, Jane Austen, she was an English novelist, wrote, huge, about 6 major books, and she introduced, the world of literature. She had kind of changed. It was a whole new style of writing. A lot of it was daily life, as opposed to big epic war things or big moral dilemmas. These were small daily moral dilemmas. And I think and there was comedy and wit in her writing and realism. And a lot of the characters were portrayed realistically with their relationships with each other. This was big, whether it was a male or female. This was a different kind of writing in 19th century. And this is when England is, Britain's control of the whole world. We'll talk about the context of it. Because, 1800s, America is really new. So if we just think about that. So America probably goes through the biggest change out of all the other countries in the 1800s. Because we're a brand new country. But this is all under Queen Victoria. This is the Victorian age. And so by the end of the 1800s, this is the British Empire. This is and they control at least a quarter of the world's population. So and Jane Austen is British. So that's and then of course, as we know in the 19th century, huge technological advances. Look, the train, transcontinental cable, the Civil War is about to happen. This is early 19th century, but this is 19th is going to be hugely, and then the 20th is like, forget about it. That's when everything, happened. But so for this movie, budget's $28 million. Always more when you do period movies because of costumes and sets, of course. And you can't just film in your apartment, it's got to be, but it makes $120 million. Music is by Dario Marianelli. He's known for his collaborations with Joe Wright. A lot of times we've talked about directors and composers, they pair up early, Spielberg, John Williams, Bernard Herrmann, Hitchcock, Tim Burton, Danny Elfman. You find music is such an important part, as we've seen every Monday with these classes, how it can make or break a movie, how it can change the tone of the scene. You can have one scene one way, and with a certain piece of music, it's this, and with you have the same exact scene but a different piece of music, it becomes a whole different movie. So we've seen that. So Marianelli and Joe Wright collaborated a lot before. This is a lot after this, because this was the first of their collaborations. And Marianelli got an Oscar nomination for this score. We'll talk about it. So mostly Jane Austen's novel, right? It's Keira Knightley is the star in it, and she's Elizabeth Bennet, and lives with her mother and sisters. They live in this beautiful English countryside, and there's a lot of pressure back then. There still is some pressure, but when marrying off your daughters and helping, and they're poor, and so you hope that she meets one of the daughters. Will meet somebody that will take care of them. So there's mounting pressure from a lot of the parents. But Elizabeth is outspoken and reluctant. She's not so passive. So she's introduced to this guy, Mr. Darcy, and he's upper class. And so the movie is kind of the chemistry between these two. But she's not so passive. She's going to give him a little bit of a, again, Jane Austen plays with realistic human emotions of relationships, and that's what makes probably, like Shakespeare, that's what makes these authors and these people live on, is because as humans we're always dealing with emotions and troubles and all of these things, part of the human conditions. So mostly a classical score. There's one track that's called Postcard to Henry Purcell. We did a whole class on Purcell. And there's a theme, and the music, I'm only bringing him up because the piece we're gonna look at, the composer on purpose quotes Henry Purcell's a piece, one of his most famous pieces that Benjamin Britten did in Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra. But just listen to this Purcell theme, and then we're going to hear Marianelli's reference quote from it. I played that in the Purcell class. So Purcell writes this in 1676. I'm not really sure what it's meant, because if the novel takes place in 1797, I don't know. The only similarity I can come up with is that they're British. They're both English, and we've talked about Purcell's importance with, he was, lack of a better word, completely British. This is the time when England was ruling everything, and he was one of the most composers that sounds English, if that makes some sense. As opposed to Wagner sounding German, So Purcell's that. So okay, so we heard that little theme. So we're gonna come back and listen to that when we look at the scene we're gonna be talking about. The director and Marianelli, they were very influenced by Beethoven, because Beethoven would have been writing at this time, right? I mean, Für Elise comes out in 1810. That's gonna change the world because everybody knows that song. And piano is very good with soundtracks. We looked at The Hours, Philip Glass, and this scene's different than The Hours, though. But it became a point of reference, Beethoven, and a good starting point for. This is how the director would say to Marianelli, this is the music, the tone of, it could be Beethoven, but let's not just use Beethoven, let's get another composer. So he was inspired by this. So if the movie's set in 1797, Beethoven would have been about 27, 28 years old during this time. This is the year of classical music. So we're past Purcell, because Purcell's the end of the Baroque. So, but 1797, if we just look, Mozart's dead by this time. Haydn's still writing, thank God. Schubert is born this year. So we're not yet into Romanticism, because with Schubert, it's the end of the classical. But we're kind of dead right in the middle of the classical era of music. So that's what's going on. So the scene we're going to look at isn't necessarily important to the plot at all, but when I was rewatching the movie, I thought it was such a lovely little montage that I thought that it would be good to score. So there's not much context I have to give you. There's nothing you need to really know about. This is just the people in this stagecoach, or and they're just leaving. They're leaving Netherfield. Netherfield is not Neverland, because I kept thinking it was Neverland when I was hearing it. It's not that. So this is Charles Bingley is one of the wealthy bachelors, and he's gonna court one of the Keira Knightley's sisters, one of the sisters, Jane. So why don't we just look at the scene? I like to do this sometimes without any music, just to see, and I just want you to get your initial thoughts. So let's just take a look at the scene. Lovely, right? Love the tablecloths and the breeze and the open window, and just it really sets. I guess that's why I picked it. It sets the setting really well, just like that long shot in Once Upon a Time in America. That big master pull-out shot, you see New York in that time in the Lower East Side. Here you see the countryside, you see the costumes, everything, without, there's no dialogue in it. So I want to take you into these movies, into these settings and locations, so you can think about it. So without hearing the music first, I wonder what some of your ideas are. Chuck Berry won't work. That would be ridiculous. Jazz wouldn't work because jazz isn't even around at that time. I kind of hinted probably something like Beethoven would work, but why don't we listen to Marinelli's score, same scene with the music. Beautiful strings, piano, easy, very much in the style of Beethoven. I mentioned the hours. The hours is different though. Philip Glass's score doesn't sound like Beethoven, although we did some comparisons with Beethoven and Philip Glass. But Philip Glass is that score sounds completely modern, and because of the arpeggios. Philip Glass just sounds modern. He's not a composer that's trying to sound like Beethoven. This score perhaps maybe tries, in good faith, to sound a little bit like a score that could have been written in the 19th century. I think Marinelli did a great job. And I don't know if, do you hear this part? That's a reference to Purcell. So just wanted to throw that out there, that composers quote other composers a lot. So this is Marinelli using Beethoven as an example, and also quoting Purcell in it too. It's all under the realm of lovely, beautiful music, because the scene is lovely, the music is very, very nice and charming, but it's not like The Hours. The Hours is much darker. So I'm just trying to point out that the similarities for sure, but when you listen to The Hours and when you listen to this, the music, even though it's under the realm of strings and piano, and it's not happy necessarily, but it's not as dark. So we'll have to come up with something. I'm not going to be mean. If you do want to use Beethoven, that's fine. That would be great to use it. Maybe extra credit points if you find another composer that could work in this scene. But Beethoven always works. But extra credit points for somebody that comes up with something that isn't Beethoven, because I know everyone's going to go Beethoven Sonata and you're going to send it to me. That's okay. That's going to work. The point of this is I want you to listen to music that you wouldn't listen to, and probably Beethoven's not on all of your Spotify lists, so that's okay. But I always like something a little bit little bit different, but not too different. Like I said, probably not a scene with jazz or rock and roll. Definitely not. No Merle Haggard. No, you know the drill. This is probably a pretty conventional classical score. So we're gonna make it a great week. We're gonna have a great week. Hope you enjoyed Pride and Prejudice. Get that into me by tomorrow, Tuesday, and you know the drill. We're gonna see your results on Friday. So thanks for watching and have a great rest of the day. Okay, bye.